So the Montreal Canadiens are licking their wounds a little bit after that 5-4 shootout loss on Tuesday night against the Philadelphia Flyers. This time, though, on Thursday, they've got the New Jersey Devils coming into town. The Devils are coming off back-to-back games out west against the Kings and the Anaheim Ducks, where they won one and lost one. Let's preview some puck. Hey gang, Kosta here from PuckTalk Montreal, welcoming you to this November 5th edition of this show. And before we get started with the lineups and the preview and what I think the keys to victory are for the Montreal Canadiens, I wanted to go back to Tuesday night, specifically to the penalty kill, because there were a few fans that were questioning Montembeault's goaltending, also questioning the Canadiens defensively. And I took a deep dive, looked at the video, looked at what's called Edge Visualizer on the NHL.com website, and I think I identified what the problem was. So let's start a little segment here that I call Behind the Bench. So what's Beyond the Bench all about? Well, it's about me bringing up a telestrator and showing you guys a little bit of what I see as a coach so that you further understand why I lay blame in certain areas. Oftentimes, everybody sees the video of the game. You'll see the highlights and say, oh, this happened, oh, that happened. As a coach, when you have questions, you slow it down, you break it down, and you realize where the specific problem is. So I'm going to let you decide whether or not you think I'm right or wrong as I look at these two scenarios. One of them is the 5-on-3 power play that the Flyers got the other day, and then there's the 5-on-2 power play. So let's start with the 5-on-3 power play. How's that? So take a look here for a second. You've got York with the puck up at the blue line, Zegras on the lower side of your screen. Upper part of your screen is Konechny, and then you've got a couple of guys in front of the net, and while you see the Canadiens in their triangle. Here's mistake number one as far as the Canadiens are concerned. Just like the box, your triangle is supposed to expand and contract so that your coverage is better. And one of the things that you don't allow is two guys in behind your defense. That's a no-no, especially at 5-on-3. You can't front at 5-on-3. It's impossible. You can front at 5-on-4, but at 5-on-3 you can't. And that's what we have here. You've got Carrier and Jacky, 45 being Carey, Jacky being 72, fronting the two players in front of the Flyer net. One of them being Couturier and the other one, I can't see the number just yet. But watch as the play progresses. All right, York passes the puck over to Zegras. Now watch. Zegras comes back towards the blue line. What happens? Well, as you look at the screen, right here, Jake Evans remains stationary. He doesn't move. Arbor Jacky, for his part, he'll move forward because he was closer to the net before. And Alexandre Carrier remains where he was before. Didn't even move. Just stayed stagnant, right? Staying with his man. He's got two guys on him. I don't have a problem with that just yet. As we continue, and you see Zegras move over, you're going to see something happen here where Carrier, right here, sorry about that, is going to move forward towards Zegras, as does Jake Evans here in the middle. Okay? Watch. Now, you notice Carrier moved away from his players. Evans is right on Zegras. Zegras does the behind the back pass. And the other part of this is, at the last second, Jacky tries to block the shot. So that's where you get it across, one-timer, and it's in the back of the net. So that's problem number one. Carrier, on that 5-on-3, didn't do very much as far as defending. He remained in his spot and didn't move. Same for Evans. They remained back inside the hash marks. You cannot do that. You're asking the other team to rip one from the blue line. It's not even a question anymore. It's like, oh, here, take it if you can. And they did. And that's why York blasted that one from the flank. It went in, and it was a power play goal, 5-on-3 for the New Jersey Devils. Now, look at the 5-on-4. And I apologize for the pen work. It's a little difficult, but watch this, okay? Here's your 5-on-4, okay? At the top, again, you've got York with the puck. On the bottom side dot, you've got Zegras. In the middle, who has that double line around him and is right behind Alex Newhook, that's Bobby Brink, the goal scorer. Okay? Now watch the play progress. Okay? You've got Newhook coming up, pressuring York, forcing him to pass the puck. You're going to watch Mike Matheson at the bottom stay relatively close to Zegras. Okay? Zegras is going to fire a pass in that is deflected first on Montembeault, and then notice how Brink is on Carrier. And watch how he doesn't afterwards. Carrier still in front. Okay, now you saw Brink went away. Carrier remained there. Kapanen had to come off of his man to come cover Brink. So here comes the shot, deflection, and scores. So what's the issue on the penalty kill? Number one, as I always mention, the puck pressure is not good enough. Okay, you're not pressuring the puck carrier enough to force them to make plays quickly. The second thing is the defensemen, specifically Alex Carrier, have to stop puck watching. Just like I say that Sam Montembeault needs to be a little bit more aware of what's going on around him, the defensemen have to be double aware of what's going on around them. Head on a swivel, know who's in front of you, behind you, and next to you at all times. And for the love of God, do not puck watch. Know where the puck is, but don't sit there watching the puck to see what happens. Because when you do, then you have goals scored against you. And that, unfortunately, is the story of that game in a nutshell, because those two goals led to the Philadelphia Flyers being up 3-0. And, well, the Canadiens did come back, but ultimately, a lot of people were yelling, saying that Montembeault could have been better. I disagree. The 5-on-4 goal was a tip in front. Yes, the rebound could have been pushed out, but it ended up on Brink's stick because Brink wasn't being covered. Not necessarily the goaltender's fault. And then you've got the high tip from the slot. That's another one that's very difficult to stop for any goaltender. I don't care how good you are. And then, you know, the second goal was a one-timer on a 5-on-3. Nothing you can do in that sense other than try to get across quickly. Monty didn't get there. The puck went in. We can argue all we want. They were not bad goals, and that's what we didn't want Montembeault to allow, and he did not. So put a plus in the win column for the Canadiens in that game and for Sam Montembeault. Now, granted, Montembeault was at practice today and looked like he was pissed off a little bit. I think that kind of led to the decision that Marty St. Louis made, but we'll get to that later. Now, it's time for us to actually look at the New Jersey Devils lineups. And to do that, let's talk about Instacustoms. Instacustoms.com is Canada's highest rated print shop with over 3,000 Google reviews and a 4.9 star rating. They offer direct-to-garment printing on all your favorite clothing, along with coffee and travel mugs, and they even offer embroidery. Habs won a Stanley Cup? You can win too on Stanley Street at Instacustoms.com. So let's take a look at the New Jersey lineup, starting with their forwards. You've got Steven Noensen, Jack Hughes, and Jesper Bratt on their first line, Andres Palat, Nico Hischier, and Arseny Griciuk in their second line, Timo Meier, Dawson Mercer, Connor Brown on their third, Paul Cotter, Juho Lamoko, oh God, I'm going to kill that, and Luke Glendening on their fourth line. I am no good with Finnish names, I got to tell you that. But when you take a look at the forwards on the New Jersey Devils, right away you can recognize that you've got Jack Hughes, Bratt, Hischier, Palat, Meier, Mercer. You've got six pretty lethal forwards there. And any one of them could score, but you know that the offense is pushed primarily by Jack Hughes. When you look at their defense and you look at their pairings, you've got Jonas Siglenhotter and Dougie Hamilton. For the life of me, I don't know why he hasn't changed that to Doug. Brendan Dillon and Luke Hughes and Dennis Chalowski and Simon Nemec. Now, the obvious thing there is the defense is very young for the New Jersey Devils. It is offensively talented in the cases of Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon. Dougie Hamilton also has the ability to bring offense while playing solid D, although he is not the greatest defenseman in the NHL. And then when you look at their goaltending, you've got Jakob Markstrom and Jake Allen, former Montreal Canadian, Jake Allen, that is. And here's the important part in all of this. One thing is for certain, when it comes to the Devils' goaltending. It's inconsistent in the sense that one night you can have a Jakob Markstrom that's invincible, like they did against the LA Kings. And then you get a Jakob Markstrom that's not invincible and allows a bunch of goals. The same can be said for Jake Allen. On some nights, you get a Jake Allen that stops the puck and looks like a brick wall. And then on other nights, you get the Jake Allen that played against the Anaheim Ducks and allowed, I think it was 4 goals against on shots that he normally stops. So it's a balancing act with their goaltending and their defense. But we'll get to those keys in a second. But you take a look up and down the lineup, and the obvious thing is clear. The Devils have a lot of offense. Much like the Toronto Maple Leafs, who were also coached by Sheldon Keefe back in the day, and once upon a time, for lack of a better way of putting it, they focus more on offense than they do defense. And that's where the Montreal Canadiens can take advantage of the Devils. The Devils have a young, fast-paced lineup that can score quickly in transition and can get possession of the puck in your own zone and force you to make stupid plays, ultimately resulting in goals. But there are some things that the Montreal Canadiens can do to win the hockey game. 5 keys as I bring up every game. And as we do, let's talk about cheapesttshirts.ca. Cheapesttshirts.ca has men's, women's, and children's t-shirts, all sizes, hoodies too, with over 1,000 products to choose from. Anything you need for merchandise or the best deals on everyday clothing, cheapesttshirts.ca is your go-to source. Buy today, ship tomorrow, cheapesttshirts.ca. So, what are the 5 keys to victory for the Montreal Canadiens? Well, number 1, you have to make sure you stop the Devils' speed in transition. They thrive on quick transition offense and attacking off the rush. Of course, led by Jesper Bratt and Jake Hughes, along with his brother Luke. They are dynamic when it comes to coming through the neutral zone. So the Canadiens, although it's not their style of play, they do have to learn to take up a lot of space in the neutral zone. And it's something that we saw John Tortorella do time and time again when Marty St. Louis was with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think we may very well see it here, where they put 4 players into the neutral zone just to clog it up a little bit and limit the amount of skating room for the Devils. Trap a little bit too. There's nothing wrong with that, right? As far as trying to lead players to one side. Of course, the Devils are very quick, so they tend to be able to beat the trap relatively easily, but that doesn't mean you just give up on it. The Canadiens need to lead into the defensive zone, force the Devils to go to whatever side the Canadiens prefer, and then defend from there. If the Canadiens do manage to mitigate the speed and transition and force the Devils to a controlled side of the ice, the Canadiens will have a lot more success defending than they would allowing free flow offense from the Devils straight through the neutral zone. Now, one very important thing that Canadiens have to do, I mentioned the penalty kill and how it struggled against Philadelphia. Philadelphia are not barn burners when it comes to your power play. In fact, they were struggling to score goals, but of course, the Canadiens helped them out with that. So in order to mitigate things against the Devils, the Canadiens have to stay disciplined. They can't get sucked into bad penalties, and they cannot end up on the wrong side of the puck. And when I say wrong side of the puck is they can't allow the Devils to beat them and then have to come back on the back check to catch up to them. Because when you're behind a player that you're trying to defend, more often than not, you're going to get the hook out, grab on, and you're going to take a penalty that's going to result in the power play. The Canadiens need to make sure they remain disciplined and keep the Devils' power play off the ice. And by the same token, they need to make sure that they attack the Devils' defense in the same way to force the Devils to take penalties and get the Canadiens on the power play, because after all, the Canadiens' power play is upwards of 6th or 7th in the National Hockey League. So they want to be out there as well. Another thing that the Canadiens need to do is counterattack with speed of their own. One of the things that the Devils do is they do free flow speed into the offensive zone and they try to attack. But what happens when they don't score or they don't have possession of the puck? They tend to be a little bit slower reacting defensively. They're not the same 200-foot team that the Montreal Canadiens are. So when the Devils lose the puck in the offensive zone, they're going to try to get it back right away. But if you can beat that first pressure, that first forecheck, and get the puck up to your forwards quickly, you're going to catch them off guard. And getting into the zone and having their defense try to mitigate the attack by the Canadiens that are coming in with speed, it's going to be tough. Yes, the Devils have speed in Luke Hughes. Dougie Hamilton can also skate a little bit. He's not the fastest or fleetest of foot, but he can get somewhere quickly when he needs to. And he does use a good stick to be able to defend. But after that, the Devils' defense is a little thin. So if you can get it into the zone quickly, be physical, and be able to cycle the puck, you're going to be able to generate offense. And if you attack in transition, the same way you do against other teams, you're going to catch the Devils napping because the Devils do not defend very well when teams attack them in transition. So a couple of things you can do. Another thing, we mentioned Markstrom and Allen. Don't know who's going to start. I believe it's going to be Markstrom because Allen started on November 2nd. Markstrom did the November 1st game against the Kings. I think Markstrom's going to start against Montreal in New Jersey. And I think the Montreal Canadiens, we know, are going to start Jakub Dobes. So the Canadiens need to win the goaltending battle. Dobes has to be better than Markstrom. Markstrom can be white hot at times, and other times he could be ice cold. The Canadiens need to get to Markstrom early and often to get him off his game, because the minute Markstrom allows an early goal, his game changes. He overthinks and he makes more mistakes. So you need to get on the opposite side of Markstrom's good side, which is if he first stops a bunch of pucks early and doesn't allow goals, it builds his confidence, and then he's practically unbeatable. So, like Jekyll and Hyde, that's Markstrom. For Jakub Dobes, 6-0 on the season. He's had a little bit of a break here, worked on his game a little bit, and he's fresh. So hopefully he has enough energy to take on this wildly quick and attack-oriented offense from the New Jersey Devils. And the last thing is to establish the forecheck in the Devils zone and have offensive zone pressure. And here's the reason why. Jacques Lemaire, former Devils and Minnesota Wild coach, said it best way back in the day that a strong forecheck and cycling the puck in the offensive zone is a great way to kill your opposition, because your opposition, they lose energy while they're chasing you to try to get the puck. And in turn, you're able to get people in position to try to get scoring opportunities. I'm not a guy who reads into that all that well. I'm not a strong proponent of cycling the puck down low. I am a strong proponent of a strong forecheck. Get your forecheckers into the offensive zone quickly, pressure the defenseman, have support there, and retrieve pucks. Marty St. Louis talks about it all the time. That engagement in the offensive zone on the forecheck is very important. Don't get caught flat-footed and, back check slowly all the way back into your own zone if you get beat. But when you get in there on the forecheck, finish your body checks. Let them know you're there. A lot of times we'll see Montreal Canadiens get in there on the forecheck, the puck leaves, they don't finish the hit, even though they should. You have a second and a half to finish your body check. So if a guy inside that second and a half lets go of the pass and you have time to hit him, finish the hit. Let him know you're there. Let him take a stupid retaliatory penny by slashing you if he thinks the hit was late a bit. Get them off their game. Forecheck. The Devils, if there's one thing, they like space. They like speed. And if you forecheck hard and you limit their space, they're not going to be able to sustain any offense. So get in there. Force them to make mistakes in their own zone. When you do that, you're going to have success. It's a simple concept. Okay, so clog up the neutral zone. Make sure the Devils don't attack in transition. And by the same token, the Canadiens need to counterattack and make sure they get forechecking pressure in the offensive zone. That way, they can mitigate the transition opportunities on the way out, and they could force the Devils to play more defense than offense, which ultimately will lead to a win. That's where we are as far as this game is concerned, where, the Devils are a very dangerous hockey club. We can all admit that. Sheldon Keefe is a very good coach offensively. I've known that for years, from his days back when he was the head coach of the Pembroke Lumber Kings in the CCHL, a team that he owned and coached before he moved on to Major Junior in the American Hockey League and ultimately the NHL. He is a fantastic coach. There is no two ways about it. And he can take offensive talent and teach them to score ad nauseum. He did it with Toronto. He's done it with the Devils. He's got the talent there. But the one thing that he doesn't have, just like with the Leafs, is he doesn't have a strong enough defense to support the speed of his offense. He's starting to get, Luke Hughes is starting to learn his game and is starting to mold his game. Doug Hamilton, he's on the wrong side of, the age gap when it comes to defensemen, although he is still very effective. And the Devils' defense is quite young. And as I've said with the Montreal Canadiens defense, I'll say it here with the Devils, it takes a little bit more time to develop defensemen, especially at the NHL level. You know what kind of defensemen you have when they reach the age of 25, 26 at that point. But the Devils have young defense. So let's see how it shapes up. Let's see what the Canadiens do. Tell me what you think. Do you think the Montreal Canadiens should clog up the neutral zone, or do you want to see a more free-flowing game? Do you want to see the Canadiens attack and counterattack? I think it would be a dangerous game to play. But tell me, I know that people aren't big fans of the trap or slowing the game down. We know that from, previous years where we had Jacques Martin as the head coach or Claude Julien as the head coach, where they liked to trap or employ locks through the neutral zone to be able to mitigate other teams' offense. In this case with the Devils, you may not very well have a choice because the Devils, I think, are a little bit faster than Montreal, especially when you're talking about the offense attacking our D. Our D are mobile, they are quick, but they're not as quick as the Devils forwards are. So what do you think? Clog it or let it rip, for lack of a better way of putting it? And if there's anything else you want to bring up, go ahead. A lot of people bring up things. I also need to apologize for something about Christian Dvorak. For some reason, I thought that he was on the 2021 Stanley Cup final team. He wasn't. I was corrected. Phil Deneau was there, and they got him that offseason. So thank you for the correction. I forget who it was offhand that said it, but thank you. I'm getting old and I'm forgetful occasionally. I remember things from 20 years ago. I can't remember what happened to me yesterday, but it is what it is, right? So feel free to correct me because I'll be the first to admit, yep, I made a mistake. I don't have a problem with that. And tell me what you think about our penalty kill. I think I'm right in the sense that that triangle needs to expand a little bit further out. And just one other thing that I want to bring up about that triangle that the Canadiens didn't do this time around, which really irked me a little bit. When your opposition at 5-on-3 has two people at the point, then you should invert the triangle. So you have two people facing the point and one person in front of the net. Any objective on the power play is to create odd man situations. And unfortunately, the way the Canadiens defended those two shorthanded situations, that actual odd man situation happened right in front of our own net. That's the last place you want it to happen. So they need to correct that. But if there's something else that you saw, something else that you think we should address, let me know. I'll take a look at it and we'll see. And let's enjoy tomorrow night's game. It's going to be a doozy. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. The speed is going to be great. And I think we're going to be super entertained. Hopefully the Canadiens can come away with a win. I'm not going to try to predict anything because, like I said, Markstrom, hit or miss. And if he's hot, it's going to be a tough game for the Montreal Canadiens. So get a good night's sleep, get your rest, get your beer in the fridge, get your popcorn ready, and let's enjoy tomorrow night's hockey game. We'll see you after the game.